Watch PunkTV.ca for all the best modern rock videos and interviews.
Let's start with the origins of Sleeper Car.
Okay. Well, when I was 18, I saw this band called the Old 97s.
Yeah.
And they were kind of my gateway into sort of this different kind of music that I sort of, you know, when you're young and punk, and you sort of think you know everything and all the other music is crap and whatever. And I was just so blown away by them, and I talked to them after the show for a little bit. And from that point on, I just bought the records and started getting kind of more and more into it. And I think right at the end of At the Drive-In, I wrote this riff that became Fences Down.
Right.
And then I kind of decided from then that I was going to start this sort of country band or whatever. And a friend of mine turned me on to the Flying Burrito Brothers, Graham Parsons, and it's kind of like ever since then I've just been getting more and more into it.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it kind of just started as writing songs, and then after the first Sparta record, I made some time off, and I just went to the studio in El Paso, and somebody said, if you're going to do country, you got to get this guy Chris Heinrich, who's from El Paso, and he'd been living all over, and he toured with Jim White as a steel player. So he came down, and with him, he brought Clint Myers, and we kind of made these songs, just sort of forgot about it for a while, and then I wrote some more, and in 2005, my friend David Garza was playing in El Paso, and we were having lunch, and he said, you got to open for me, you got to get this band together, you got to do it for real, man. And so that was kind of when I started taking it a little more seriously and started recording the record. I recorded the record like 2 or 3 times before it was done, just over the years.
Yeah. You recorded ages ago, or like this is the last recording, the one that you
Yeah, and it's all bits and pieces of all of it, you know.
So what was the writing process like? Just like you writing over time and then putting things together?
Yeah, pretty much. I would sort of build these songs at my house, and then when it came to drums, I would have Matthew. We would just go to the studio and sort of a studio in this ad agency, and my friend was doing like sort of their audio stuff, and in exchange at night he could use the space to record, so he would record the drums there. And then I would take those, I would take that home, and I would begin layering and layering and layering, and then I would send it off to people and say, here's a song, do whatever you want. And then I'd take their bits, cut them up, put them where I wanted. Totally. So I just kept doing that over and over again until I sort of forced myself to finish.
And how different was that process from when you wrote in Sparta?
Well, with Sparta, it's a collective, so there's a bunch of writers, and you kind of all go off each other, and you take somebody's part from this, and you put it with your part, and you know, whatever. So it's really quite different, I think.
Yeah. And which do you prefer in the from At the Drive-In, where you were sort of backup singer, guitar player, and now you're in the spotlight? Do you like that more?
I go back and forth. I mean, there's the days that it's great, then it's the best place to be, and the days when it's awful. I mean, it just carries, I think, a little bit more weight with it, you know. So, I mean, I definitely have days where I wish I was on the side of the stage and a little bit less pressure. Yeah. You know, for sure.
The music of Sleeper Car sounds a lot more sort of internal.
I think that's fair.
Was that an intentional?
I don't know if it was intentional, but it was the only option, I think, really, because it was just me for years.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have Matthew play drums on it, but he's really like would walk in and I would have sort of a beat made, or I'd just say like, here's a riff, just like throw something down, and then we'll go from there. That's why we would go back and re-record stuff sometimes. So, yeah, it has been like a very like. It just comes off wrong if you say it's like your thing or whatever. You know what I mean? But it is. But I have a hard time. I mean, just my personality. It's hard for me to say that it's mine.
Sure. Yeah.
Even though, I mean, when I was writing out the credits, because I mean, even down to I took the photo on the cover.
Yeah.
I hand wrote the credits and the song titles, and you know, even down to that, I was having a hard time writing like, you know, my name more than once on the record.
And you didn't put your name first?
No.
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 And was that a conscious decision?
Yeah, it was the only place that I couldn't put my name first, so I didn't.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I also don't think, I mean, when it's all said and done, I mean, they're my songs and I wrote them, and I worked really, really hard on it. And I know that, and I don't need a billboard that says it, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
whatever.
definitely.
And these guys contributed a lot, and, you know, did it out of the love our friendship and the love of music, and it wasn't. I mean, it's on my label. There's no budget. There's no.
Sure.
Can you come in and play? I'll give you $300 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like I'll make you dinner, and then or whatever.
Indeed. What did you make for dinner?
Well, one night we had it's like edamame sesame seed noodle sort of thing.
You did?
It's pretty good.
That's
the only thing I can cook.
Well, that's a pretty interesting thing to be able to for the one thing.
Yeah.
Like most people can just make pretty mean pasta sauce.
Right.
Yeah. So you're on tour with Alex Green or Dallas Green from City and Color and Alex Sunfire.
Yeah.
What's that tour like?
It's been awesome. I mean, really, last night. I can honestly say we played a song last night for the first time on this tour in this huge, Royal Theatre in Victoria.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, I said, "I'll never forget that 5 minutes of my life." And it was really emotional for me because it was that thing when you finish it and you hit the very last note where you just think that was absolutely the best it could have been. It was the most perfect. Everything about it was perfect, and the crowd like erupted afterwards, and it was like this crazy rush. And it's good to have that. I've been really lucky to sort of do multiple things in my life, and last night was a real. I guess it's like a real pat on the back, in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I think when I started making this record, and I took the demos sort of and started showing them to people and said, well, I'm gonna do this. I'm out of my deal with Hollywood. I don't have any obligations to anybody. Nobody would touch it. Nobody would touch the record. And I think if it had been a heavy band, I think I would have been able to do, I would have had a lot more choices.
Right.
But I was going out on this limb, and I think, the state of the industry or whatever, it's kind of hard.
Indeed.
And so I did it myself, basically. I mean, with the help of Doghouse, who distributes and markets, and Dine Alone in Canada, which takes care of, I licensed it to them. But last night was just a feeling of like, okay, I think I did the right thing. Like now I feel, it's scary, it's really scary because it's your whole, for us I don't have a pension fund and I don't have like a retirement savings and really if I'm on the road then that's where I make my living. And it was really emotional for me because it was that thing when you finish it and you hit the very last note where you just think that was absolutely the best it could have been. It was the most perfect, everything about it was perfect. And the crowd like erupted afterwards and it was like this crazy rush. And it's good to have that. I've been really lucky to sort of do multiple things in my life, and last night was a real. I guess it's like a real pat on the back, in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I think when I started making this record, and I took the demos sort of and started showing them to people and said, well, I'm gonna do this. I'm out of my deal with Hollywood. I don't have any obligations to anybody. Nobody would touch it. Nobody would touch the record. And I think if it had been a heavy band, I think I would have been able to do, I would have had a lot more choices.
Right.
But I was going out on this limb, and I think, the state of the industry or whatever, it's kind of hard.
Indeed.
And so I did it myself, basically. I mean, with the help of Doghouse, who distributes and markets, and Dine Alone in Canada, which takes care of, I licensed it to them. But last night was just a feeling of like, okay, I think I did the right thing. Like now I feel, it's scary, it's really scary because it's your whole, for us I don't have a pension fund and I don't have like a retirement savings and really if I'm on the road then that's where I make my living and if I'm in a band that nobody wants to see then that's the end of my living, So last night was a really good feeling and just meeting people that would come up, we sold out of CDs in 2 days. We don't have any to sell tonight because we sold a shit ton at the last 2 shows and it was just, it's really nice meeting all these, and these kids have no idea who I am. Yeah. Not a clue. Yeah. Maybe if I told them what bands I had been in, they would maybe know the name. Right. But not one of them knew who I was. And they just said, wow, we really liked it. By the way. Yeah. It's a good feeling. It's really, really positive.
Definitely. And the fact that it's solo probably makes it even more.
Yeah.
Because, if you're with, I know you are with the band, but if
you're
with a collective, then you would have, you're able to like, pass some blame off or pass.
Yeah, but and it's been like from At the Drive-In this far, there was members of At the Drive-In with me. You know what I mean? This is my first time being separated from my whole past, where it's just it really feels new and it really feels fresh and it really feels like it was a leap of faith to do.
Watch PunkTV.ca for all the best modern rock videos.